Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Sampler mini-series. I'm working under the assumption that you know absolutely nothing about sampling and working with samplers at this point. Now, of course, that's ridiculous. Almost everybody knows a decent amount about sampling and samplers already. But what I'm going to try to do is start with just a bunch of basic, simple, practical examples of how samplers have been used in the past. And then towards the end of the course, that's when we really dive a little bit deeper into what makes the Bitwig Studio sampler unique. So if you're new to music production, new on this journey, I would recommend watching these videos in order, especially because you're going to probably learn a lot and really understand how you can employ this and sort of how some of the sounds are where they are, things like that, you know. And if you are more experienced, a little bit more of a power user, you probably don't need to watch any of these videos, but if you are going to watch a few, I'd say probably the last 5 or 6 where we talk about voice stacking, zone parameters, and some of the fading options, round robin options, and then when we do dive a little bit deeper into our different playback modes here. Now, before we begin, I just always like to point this out before we get into any discussion of samplers, is that inside the digital audio workstation, almost everything you're doing is some form of sampling or is probably using samples. Most VSTs you're using, they do incorporate samples to some degree in instrument plugins. When you're working on the grid and you're working with audio tracks and you're chopping your audio up and you're putting it different places, that's a form of sampling. We have so many things that we can do to our samples. The difference is that with the sampler, you're triggering those with MIDI notes. So you can put stuff on the grid, you can easily change tempo, you can do things inside the sampler a little more flexibly than sometimes you can do it on the grid. That's not to say that one method is better than the other. It's just important to note that like sampling, using samples, that's something that you're doing all the time, whether you're really aware of it or not. So with that little caveat out of the way, let's get into the course.